Welcome to Dirty Datini. I'm your host, Christina Kane. This is the unfiltered podcast that takes you through the dirty truth of dating, modern romance, relationships, and most importantly, self-discovery. Remember, love isn't always neat, and sometimes life is on the rocks, but it's sure worth the mess.
Welcome back to another episode of Dirty Datini. I'm your host, Christina Kane, the girlfriend guys never knew they needed and the bestie that girls always wish they had. In today's discussion, we are discussing something that has probably happened at one point in all of our lives, where we are consistently seeing someone, each other are acting as if you are in a relationship with the other person. You're meeting their friends, you're meeting their family, you're investing time and energy into one another. Jealousy may arise when you find out that they saw someone else or are slightly maybe involved with someone else. And yet with all of these factors into place, the relationship has no title and has not yet been defined. I'm sure you're familiar with this, and this is what we call the gray zone. The gray zone is the in-between of dating. Things are going well, but you're not sure where you stand or where things are even possibly headed. Today, I'm going to be covering all of that for you. We're diving into the gray zone of dating, why you need to understand it and be aware of it, what it is, and how and why it develops, why it is okay in the start of any blossoming relationship, how long it lasts or how long it should last, how long is too long, the breakup, and moving on from the gray zone situationship relationship you had. First and foremost, you need to be aware and understand the gray zone that could arise in any new relationship you are entering. If you are aware of what the gray zone is, it prevents you from wasting time and indulging in this relationship for months to possibly years, being uncertain of where you're even headed. And if you stay in the gray zone for too long without clear communication and clarity on what each other want from the other person in this relationship, then you are just wasting your own time and wasting the other person's time. Because the more time that you spend in the gray zone of a relationship, the more time you are preventing yourself from meeting the person that is going to want to be with you. I've said it once and I will say it again, and I will continue to say it in my episodes. In today's modern, fast-paced society, most people fear and lack commitment. It is a very common phenomenon, and it's not getting any better, it looks like. So, since we cannot change the current times that we are living in, all you can do is better understand things you need to be aware of in dating. So, understanding the gray zone is an important start. The gray zone in dating is the odd, uncertain middle stage. You're more than friends because you've crossed that intimate boundary, but there has not been a title put onto your relationship. So it's kind of unclear of what you are or where you're headed. You spend a lot of time together. You have similar interests. You know their deepest, darkest secrets, and they know your deepest, darkest secrets. You are there for each other when times call for it. Their friends are your friends. Their family is your family, and vice versa. You go on trips together. You are always with each other, and it feels like a relationship, yet you have no clue what you are or where y'all's relationship stands. You hope you are headed towards a relationship, but the longer you stay in the gray zone of dating, the higher likelihood you may just walk away from this relationship with disappointment. And with that, you'll lose a friend and have the what if of what could have been with this person. Now, don't get me wrong. It is totally okay to be in the gray zone in the start of dating. Of course, no relationship goes straight from the initial meeting to being in a exclusive relationship. Maybe some do, but I'm not aware of the ones that do. Most relationships are a gradual process to becoming exclusive. You're getting to know one another. You're spending time with each other. You're getting to know the other person mentally, physically, and intimately. You are not hung up on the labels because you are still gaining an understanding if you even like this person. Who cares if that person likes you? You're still trying to figure out, do I like this person? And you're trying to gain clarity on if you're compatible in the long run. So being in the gray zone in the early stages of dating is fine. And I would say anywhere from 1 to 3 months is a good time frame for you to get to know someone and be dating. But once you have surpassed those couple of months, it's time for you to be clear about where you are headed in your relationship and what the other person's intentions are for it, as well as your own. Because once you've passed the test and they've passed the test, and this is somebody that you could see yourself being with, if it continues on this way without defining the relationship, it may never be defined. Many people who are anxious or have an anxious attachment style need to define a relationship because they can't live in the uncertainty of not knowing where this is going or what it is. And just because you have an anxious attachment style does not mean you need to put pressure on the other person in the early stages. If you're forcing someone to define the relationship in the early stages for the sake of your own sanity, then you need to work on being in relationships and being okay with the unknown. But that goes for those first couple of months. I'm not talking about months and months that turn into years of a situation. I am only talking about having an anxious attachment style within those first couple of months. Ride the wave, enjoy it, get to know the other person. But once 3 months, let's say, have gone by, now it's time to define the relationship. You should never have to force someone to define the relationship, and you should never have fear or anxiety around bringing up the defining the relationship talk. If you have to force someone to define the relationship, then to me, that person is not ready to be in a relationship. Because somebody who wants to be in a relationship with you and sees the value that you bring into their life, they have no problem on calling you theirs and making sure that people know that you are off the market. And for those who have anxious attachment styles, if you fear that you will push the other person away or scare them because you're bringing up the talk, then that is just so immature for that other person. If you see that this person does not handle having open, honest communication clearly, effectively, they're not open to it, they don't receive it well, then take the talk out of the equation. Think about the longevity of your relationship. Is that really someone you want to be in a relationship with, where anytime that you have to have a discussion or a talk, you have anxiety and fear around doing so because you know that they do not receive it well? With all of that said, within time, a relationship must be defined for each individual to have a clear understanding of who they are to the other person and the rules and guidelines and people that are off limits. If you are not being open and honest and clearly communicating in your newly dating situationship, then what will happen is assumptions are going to fill the void and boundaries are going to be crossed. An assumption some people may have in the gray zone of dating is that they are in a relationship because they act like it. They act like they're in a relationship. So why would you not think you're in a relationship? And when that is the case, usually more pain and jealousy arises because when that other person you are seeing starts seeing other people too, you see a text come up on their phone from someone else that isn't you, then that causes problems. I believe that there is a reason that a lot of people gray zone, but we will get into that later on in this episode when I discuss how it kind of develops and why it even exists. So back to what I was saying, if defining a relationship scares the other person, goodbye. If they can't have a discussion about where you stand with each other, then that's not someone you can probably rely on to have a discussion about any matter in your relationship moving forward. If someone can pretend to be in a relationship for months to years and the talk scares them, then they're not even someone emotionally mature enough to be in a relationship. Because you should never be afraid to discuss what you want from the person you are seeing and fear that you will scare them away. If you fear those things, then it's not a safe space and it's not necessarily the best relationship for you to build on. At times, because people do have this fear, they neglect their own wants and their boundaries and the respect that they hold for themselves for the sake of the other person, which is another thing you do not do. If you are having to brush your feelings underneath the rug for the sanity and sake of another person, not someone you want to be with. If you are pretending everything's fine and you're headed in the right direction because they act like we're in a relationship, but yet they haven't claimed you as their girlfriend or boyfriend, not somebody you want to be in a relationship with. If you are doing all the girlfriend or boyfriend things without the title and they take advantage of that, not someone you want to be in a relationship with. If they are leaving their options open after investing time and energy into you and you investing time and energy into them, and yet they still want to leave their options open, not somebody you want to be in a relationship with. So whoever's listening to this, do not ever diminish and neglect your boundaries and the respect you hold for yourself and the things that you want in a relationship for the sake of another person or keeping another person around. Well, why do people fall into the gray zone? Many people fall into the gray zone or gray zone other people for many reasons. They may have a fear of commitment, which is not your issue and it's not your job to fix them. Perhaps they have that from past traumas or relationships that they've been in. That's their job to overcome it and be a better person in the future. They may have insecurities that prevent them from being in a relationship. Once again, all of this is not your issue. It is not your job to fix someone else. They have to improve themselves for the next relationship that they enter. And in the meantime, not drag other people down in the midst of them discovering how to overcome these battles they have within themselves. If you feel that any of what I just said could be you, be honest about where you stand with another person when entering a relationship. You can take things slow, but if you feel you cannot commit after a couple of months or you do not want to define the relationship after a couple of months, then be open and transparent and be willing to let that relationship go and be willing to let that person walk away. Do not selfishly hold on to a relationship or another person for your own benefit. If all is not well in your relationship, do not pretend it is. I feel like I've had numerous times where I'm not being sexist, but, females have the reputation of being crazy, and guys say, oh, she got crazy or she was crazy. I think very few females are just simply crazy just for the fuck's sake of it. There are things that men do to make a female crazy. Like I said, most females don't come out the womb just crazy and ready to cause chaos. There are things that trigger the craziness in females. Can females be crazy? Yes, but usually with reason. If you are giving the assumption to someone else that you're in a relationship and acting like you're in a relationship, then I don't think it's that crazy for that female to assume that you are in a relationship. Yes, should it be clear and communicated and said out loud and defined? Of course. But for whatever reason, let's say it's not, and this person continues to see you with the assumption you're in a relationship because you act like one, I don't think it's crazy. And a lot of guys will say, oh, well, like we never defined the relationship. We never said we weren't going to see other people. Well, maybe you didn't say it, but actions speak louder than words. And if you are always with them and their stuff is at your house and your stuff is at their house and they're going on trips together and you're communicating all day, every day, and you're seeing each other every day after work, a female may not feel that that needs to be communicated because you're always with her. When are you having time to see anyone else or communicate with anyone else? So if it's not clearly communicated, I don't think it's crazy for a woman to assume that you're in a relationship. I don't think you should assume, but for those women who have assumed at times, I do not think that's crazy. What I think is crazy is being in a relationship, but not defining the relationship, but yet you act like you're in a relationship. So if you're just clear, open, and honest with your communication, it will go a whole lot better than you think. Do not waste someone else's time. Do not waste your own time. If you want a relationship after a couple months, hey, I've really enjoyed spending time with you. I would like to be exclusive. I want to see where your mind is with that. Communicate that. See what their thoughts are on it. Maybe they want to be in a relationship. Maybe they don't. But wouldn't you rather know 3, 4, 5 months in than 3 years later? And if you don't want a relationship, you can know who somebody is really well after a couple months. You know if you could see yourself investing further time and energy and emotion into this person, you enjoy their company, and you're open to exploring a relationship. So after those couple of months, if you don't see yourself continuing to be in that relationship, or you don't see that person holding values for someone that you want in a long-term relationship, then communicate it. It is the most simple thing. Open your mouth and talk with your words. Communicate that you do not want to be in a relationship. If you still want to both hang out and casually hook up with the understanding that it's not going to turn into a relationship, that's fine. You're both adults. You can do that. But make sure that it is clear that it's not going to turn into anything else. Otherwise, communicate that you don't see it going any further and discuss what you would like to do. Part ways or continue to see each other with the understanding it's not going to go further. That's up to you. But it is much better to have this discussion early on, 3, 4, 5 months in, because you know even sooner than 3, 4, 5 months in if you like someone enough to be in a committed relationship with them. So after, I'm being very gracious with my time zones, with my timing. In relationships, if relationships are not defined, then managing expectations can be challenging in that relationship. In navigating the gray area of a relationship, as I said, open and honest communication is important. It is crucial. It is mandatory. And two people who are coming together may have different views on their relationships, their feelings, the direction it's headed, and their level of commitment. That's fine, but communicate it. It's essential to keep an open mind and be flexible as your relationship evolves. Setting clear boundaries within that relationship is also important. And defining your comfort levels in the aspects like frequency of interaction or physical intimacy. Because if you discuss this, this helps prevent misunderstandings. ensuring that both partners feel respected and valued throughout the course of the relationship. Boundaries are very crucial and key to establish, and I don't see any problem in those being established early on. If you want to see other people, say it. If you don't want the other person to see other people and you guys continue to ride each other's wave and see where it goes, go for it. When boundaries are put into place, you're ensuring that mutual needs are met and fostering a respect for one another. In the gray area between dating and a committed relationship, setting boundaries becomes particularly important to reduce misunderstandings and aligned expectations. And some may feel that feels restricting or intimidating, but being open to your situationship or the person you are newly dating about your needs and honest communication is key for the success or the fails of that relationship. A lot of people in the gray zone of dating, as much as it may feel like a relationship, get upset or jealous when the person they are seeing is talking or seeing someone else as well. And they don't find that out from the person that they are seeing. They find that out from another outside source. Two things come to mind here for me. You should never assume somebody is in a relationship with you, no matter how much you act like you're in a relationship. And a lot of times, people don't want to define the relationship because they want to have their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to have the benefits, perks, aspects of being in a relationship, but then also the freedom of being single. So the longer they can prolong having the talk and defining the relationship, the longer they get to be a bachelor or bachelorette. When it comes to early stages of dating, being in the gray zone for a little bit is okay because you're getting to know one another. You're gaining an understanding of if you even like this person and see longevity in the future with them. But if it goes on for more to 3 to 5 months and the relationship has not been defined, you're at a crossroads. The crossroads, after you bring up, as scary or intimidating that may be, after you bring up, and I also don't think you should have to, I don't think females should have to bring up, where's this going? I think men make things very clear if you just keep your eyes open. Because if a man wants to be with you, he will be with you. Point blank, period. But let's say you've come to the crossroads, it's 3 to 5 months, and you're like, okay, I need to know where this is going. And you do bring it up. If they want a relationship with you, then that is fabulous. Everything worked out for you. Congratulations. I wish you guys success on your endeavors. This is the road that you take, the fork to the left. If they avoid the talk or they don't make things unclear and they tip-tap-toe dance, tip-tap-toe, and they tap dance around the actual question, or they just tell you they don't want a relationship with you altogether, it is upon yourself to ask yourself, do you want to continue on that path? Because if you continue to see this person acting as a partner to them after they've made it clear they don't want a relationship with you, then I don't think anybody should have any sympathy for you when you're 2 years in and your heart is broken and you are upset because they made it clear that they didn't want a relationship with you. At that point in time, when they made it clear, that was your responsibility and your job to walk away from the situation altogether. So if someone says they don't want a relationship with you and you continue to see them, that's your own issue. I also don't think that in the early stages of dating, you should give someone, male or female, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, all the perks and benefits of being in a relationship with you without commitment. Because human beings are selfish creatures. That's the nature of the science of who we are. And if you can get everything you want without committing, what is going to impel you to commit? Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? You know what I'm saying? So, show a glimpse, give a sneak peek, a little preview of what dating you would be like, but do not go over and beyond to show what it would be like if they were dating you. Because I'm telling you right now, that is not going to make them commit to you more. A lot of people may think, oh, like he will make me his girlfriend, or she will make me her boyfriend, or she'll make me her girlfriend, or he'll make me his boyfriend. If I show him what it would be like to be in a relationship with me and I act as if we are in a relationship. But that's not true. Humans are selfish creatures and they will get away with what they can. So if they're already getting all the perks and benefits of being in a relationship with you, there's nothing to motivate them to commit to you. Why would they commit to you? They don't need to. So when you go to have that discussion 3 to 5 months into your relationship and you are setting boundaries, you are establishing what you are communicating what you want and do not want. And if you're not aligned, that is okay. And know that it may be the end of the relationship. And that is okay also. But if you go to this person setting boundaries, knowing what you want, let's say that is that you want a relationship, and they give you a list of reasons as to why they're not ready, then you also still need to walk away. Because if you continue to stay in that relationship and go down that path, no amount of love, care, and attention is going to change their mind. Also, I think it diminishes the self-respect you have for yourself and the respect that they have for you. Because if you have clearly communicated you want a relationship and that's what I want, and they were able to, with their words, coerce the situation into continuing to be in a situationship and you stayed, then they don't take your words seriously. So now you have someone who's fearful of commitment and doesn't respect you or what you say because they know that you can be manipulated to change your mind. So be okay with the end of a situationship or a dating stage ending. It's going to be better for you in the long run because you'll save time and heartbreak and be able to find somebody that actually wants to be with you while they navigate their own issues on their own. Now, some may be wondering, well, how do I know if I'm in the gray zone? And how do I know if this person I'm dating, it's actually headed somewhere? Some signs that your partner might be interested in a more committed relationship may include talking about the future, making plans with you that extend beyond the current moment, so making future plans with you, introducing you to their friends, introducing you to their family, going on trips with you, coming to you when they have an issue that's bothering them. So when it comes to knowing if your relationship is headed towards commitment, there's the famous saying, if they like you, you'll know. If you're confused, they don't. It goes something like that. You know what I'm talking about. And I think that's very, very, very accurate. Anytime I've ever liked anyone, I've made it very clear. Anytime someone's ever liked me, I know they like me. So when there's confusion, I think you have your answer. But just open your eyes and your heart to accept the answer. Now, how do you know that you're in the gray zone? Again, I think it's clear because you'll be confused and your mind will be spinning at night and you'll be stalking social medias. But we'll go over a few things for pure entertainment. There's been no talk initiated. They don't bring up defining the relationship. In fact, they probably avoid it. And anytime you try to bring it up, their mom's calling. You have no consistency in when you will see one another. You have no consistency on when you hear from one another. You haven't met their friends or their family. There's no talk of the future. Let's say future trips or future plans. There's no talk of that because they may not want you there. You're anxious. You're confused. You're talking to your girlfriends about it. You're talking to your guy friends about it. You're talking to your parents about it. You're stalking their social media, looking at what they're doing because when they're not with you, you don't know what they're doing. These are all signs that you're in the gray zone. Yeah, you're there. But there is also the rare occurrence of where it's very clear that your relationship is headed towards commitment and very clear that you're in the gray zone. But what happens when the relationship has not been defined and there's been no talk on it, but instead of showing the signs of being in the gray zone, they're showing the signs of wanting to be in a committed relationship? What happens when two roads meet? So let's say you're thinking, well, there is consistency, Christina. I have met their friends and their family. We travel together. We do pretty much everything together. But the relationship has not been defined. Well, then there should be no fear or hesitation around having the talk. Because if they're acting like they're in a relationship, then you may be in a relationship. Have the talk. But if they're acting like they're in a relationship with you and they avoid the talk, it's even more important to have the talk. By all means, do not ever assume that you are in a relationship or that it is a relationship. Have the talk, define the relationship, be clear. You shouldn't even have to have the talk because people claim what they want. But if you do have to have the talk, be on the same page, and have a clear understanding of what your relationship is. Otherwise, you'll just continue to be in that relationship without the commitment, assuming that you are in a relationship, giving all the perks and benefits of being in a relationship without them buying the property. And that is just going to lead to disappointment, broken friendships and relationships, and a broken heart. Because even though you were never in a relationship, you developed so much time, care, energy, emotion, intimacy into this person. So it's only natural for you to care and have hurt feelings over it not going where you thought it was going. Many people get trapped in the gray zone of dating, and that can be chalked up to timing, bad timing, of course, an unrealized lack of compatibility as time goes on. They realize, I don't really like this person as much as I thought. Or simply the thrill of the chase. And while it's easy to hop on the merry-go-round, it is far more difficult to get off. If you don't want to buy a ticket to the merry-go-round without knowing how fast the merry-go-round goes, do your research and have a talk beforehand. People make it very clear when they want a relationship. And they make it very clear when they don't want a relationship. If you're like, what's going on? What do you want? And they can't give you a direct answer, well, that's the only answer you need. You don't need any more of an answer. So you've been seeing this person and you had the talk about what you were. And as much as you thought you were maybe on the same page, you weren't on the same page. And now it's the breakup. So funny, right? Because you were never in a relationship, but yet you're going through a breakup. Cold turkey quit. Cut it out. Any past friends or family involved in that relationship, you no longer talk to them. Any experiences that you guys did together, you no longer do. The frequency of your texting has gone to 0. Whoever you were before that person came into your life, go back to being who you were before that person came into your life. Because if you ease out of it, maybe you went from talking a lot to you guys just agreed to talk ever so often. You went from hanging out a lot to you guys agreed that you'll see each other here and there. You're just prolonging the pain. in this whole situation that you're involved in where they will never be committed to you and you'll never be in a committed relationship. What is the point of prolonging that? It is not doing benefit or good for anyone. So the best way to escape the breakup of the gray zone is to cold turkey quit it. Do not wean yourself off. You are not in rehab. We do not supply you with the drugs to wean yourself off. You are cold turkey quitting it. And it's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel really foreign to going from talking to someone every day, seeing them often, hanging out with them. It's going to be a culture shock. Well, not a culture shock, but it's going to be a shock to you. This is the time that you value hanging out with your friends and your family and doing the things that you love to do to get you over this hurdle of this foreign time that you are healing over. And while not shutting the door on that person may make it a little bit easier since you're not entirely losing the person, it may make it easier, but in the long run, it's just going to make it harder because it will drag out. And in the end, whether it be 5 months that you had this discussion or 3 years, you'll be in the same level of pain, if not more, if you continue to let it go on. I've had a few people ask me what to do when exiting the gray zone, a situationship, and time has passed and this person returns. And when that happens, I want you to think for a moment and tell them that you'll get back to them. Because you need to sit with yourself and ask yourself, do you want to be in a relationship with this person? Are they ready to commit? Are they going to show me the signs that things will be different this time? And if they do that, and they are a different person, then that's up to you, of course, if you want to pursue that relationship with that person. But a lot of times people return not necessarily because they're now ready to step up to the plate, but because they missed you. They saw what life was like without you. And some people just want to see how much they can get away with. So when and if that person does return, it's up to you with what you want to do. If they've shown signs and actually shown you that they've changed and that they're ready to put a title on the relationship and not leave any room for uncertainty, then be in a relationship with them if you want. I don't care. But if they return and it's just the same thing, then this is just a Ferris wheel that is going to keep going around and around until you get off. In addition to when they return, a lot of people, when they exit the gray zone of dating or a situationship, one or both parties usually want to be friends because you don't want to lose that person completely. You've developed such a meaningful, deep connection with them, but clearly not deep and meaningful enough for them to commit to you. But they want to be friends. They want to keep you in their lives and they want to remain in yours. Once you have passed friendship, it's a different level of relationship than friendship. And it's very hard for once it surpasses that and you have those feelings and that love for that person in your heart to just go and act as platonic friends. And if you are to do it, I don't think it's you being genuine. I think it's you pretending and burying those feelings and love that you have for that person deep down just for the sake of being friends. There's this like really famous saying, or maybe it's really not that famous. Maybe I just like see it on Pinterest and I think is so philosophical and famous, and it's not. But the saying is, if two past lovers can remain friends, it's either they're still in love or they never were. And I think that's pretty spot on. You either want to be friends with that person because you still love them and you have hopes for that relationship, or you never did love them and you can be around them platonically and see them fall in love with someone else and it not hurt your soul because you never did love them. So just remember that. Remember that for when and if they come back. Remember that it's really hard to be friends. It's not impossible, but it's hard because feelings have been involved. And I do believe that you always have love for the people you once loved. Obviously, to different levels. Some people you have loved more than others, and some people slightly. But anyone you once loved, you'll always have love in your heart for them. No matter how much time passes, time makes things easier, but it doesn't take it away. And nobody, male or female, deserves to ever not feel like they are not worthy enough to be in a relationship with someone, that they are not the chosen one. Thank you for joining me on this episode of navigating the trenches of the gray zone. The gray zone is okay in the beginning, but after some time, it can be extremely hazardous. Explosives will be ignited, so stay away and be aware of what it is and how long it should last or shouldn't last. And just remember that if someone's not ready for a relationship, no amount of love, commitment, investment that you give that person will make them ready for a relationship. If for whatever reason that person is not ready for a relationship and they do not want to be in a relationship with you, then just keep it moving without them, because it is not your job to fix someone else's issues. We all have to navigate and overcome our own issues, and we have to do it for ourselves and not anyone else. Or else you just fall into the same patterns because you're not authentically doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it for the sake of someone else's happiness. So be aware of the gray zone. Avoid it at all cost. It never makes any good. If you feel like someone is in the gray zone and may need some guidance, share this episode with them. Tell them to give them a listen, and hopefully this empowers them with the knowledge and the respect that they need to have to navigate the gray zone. If you liked this episode, please leave a review. I sit and talk to myself and let my thoughts spiral purely for the listeners that I do have. Whoever you are listening to me, I love you greatly. I love talking. I talk so much. And I talk loud. I definitely don't need a microphone in my hands ever, but here we are. So leave a review. It means a lot to me. And if you ever have any questions that you want answered by me, email your questions to dirtydayteeny@gmail.com. It will be in the show notes below. So thanks for joining me on this episode. Stay out of the gray zone. It should always be very black or white. If you're in the gray zone, something's off. It's as simple as that. Make relationships black or white. Get out of the gray zone. No one wants to be in the gray zone. Anyways, I'm rambling. Thank you for listening to this episode. I will see you on the next one.
Before we get back to reality, if you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, you're iconic. But before we part ways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, don't be shy and leave a review. Thirsty for more? Follow Dirty Dayteeny on Instagram and TikTok @DirtyDayteeny. Oh, and just remember, we're on this journey together. Until next time, stay dirty and stay flirty.